Okay, this is morality and negative foreign relations. So my research question was, how is the moral obligation of courage historically fostered negative relations between the United States and opposing countries? And the three main claims that I explore in today's research is, 1, the US has a moral obligation to uphold its values. 2, the US engages in conflict to uphold their morals through power. And 3, the US engages in conflict based on the opinions of citizens. So the solution that I gained from this was, in order to avoid unnecessary violence and the wasting of resources, the United States needs to consider external perspectives to address the development of collective memories, which I explore later on in this presentation. And some general background on why exactly war and conflict is bad. It might seem obvious, however, conflict is a way to uphold United States values overall, and so we kind of have to consider the pros and cons of this. And the cons kind of outweigh the pro in the situation that post 9/11 wars have generated over $8 trillion in spending. War raises long-term interest rates, so these two things are economically detrimental to the United States, and expelling them could help the economical state of the United States. And second, post 9/11 wars have indirectly caused over 4.5 million deaths. This is not including all of the other conflicts that the United States has historically been involved in. And these are all come from the Watson Institute, which was founded by Brown University, which helps research post 9/11 wars and their effects on the United States. And the last point I have is that the United States, out of all of the years it has been a country, has only not been involved in conflict for only 15 years total. So considering just these effects in the recent years, you have to think about the detrimental effects that war has caused long term. My first point is that the US has a moral obligation to uphold their American values. And we can see this in President Roosevelt's inaugural address to the nation when he was sworn in as president. He said, "We do not distrust the future of essential democracy. The people of the United States have not failed. In their need, they have registered a mandate that they want direct, vigorous action. They have asked for discipline and direction under leadership." So going into this quote, the first sentence, it says, "We do not distrust the future of essential democracy," meaning that the United States wants this democracy. And the last sentence kind of points out how the people of the United States have asked for leadership in order to further uphold democracy to help them out of their time of the Great Depression. And this is just regional. However, you can compare it to kind of foreign exchanges when you think about the relationship between the government and the people. The close relationship that the United States has established with its people through the government has further contributed to the ideas of patriotism and nationalism and other forms of American values like this. So the United States leadership has this obligation to uphold these values of the people in terms of conflict and just overall in general, as we see in the first quote. And my second point is that the US acts in conflict in order to uphold their morals through power. This point kind of has two separate points within itself. The United States has to involve itself in conflict in order to keep its global dominance overall, and they have to have this global dominance in order to uphold their morals. So the first point, the most recent example of this, is Biden identifying China as a economical rival in the most recent China and US trade war. He did this in order to establish US global dominance and keep that in an economical sense. And the second is a historical example, the involvement in World War II after Pearl Harbor. After an attack on our nation overall, the United States had to uphold its power by entering itself into World War II. This also contributed to later nuclear stockpiling during the Cold War in order to keep upholding this power and dominance globally. And then my third point is the humanitarian justification through promoting democracy in conflict. And this these humanitarian values are kind of the United States reasoning to involve itself in conflict. So they say that they are helping these countries to uphold their personal idea of democracy. This isn't necessarily what other people might see as right, but the United States does uphold this democracy through conflict. My third point is that the US engages in conflict based on citizen support. So my first example is pulling out of the Vietnam War, which is from Blacklovic 2019, who does research in defense and strategic research. And pulling out of the Vietnam War was one example of this because there was a lack of support from citizens overall, which eventually caused the United States to pull out. And then my second point is that Americans see themselves as more democratic than other countries, which I will talk about in the next slide. And then my third point is the entry into World War II. FDR had to promote hostility with Japan and Germany in order to garner public support before Pearl Harbor even happened. So that way he could even consider the fact to involve the United States in this war, because he had to garner public support before he was able to do so. And then these two graphs that I provided are talking about the United States perspectives, citizens of the United States compared to other countries. And the United States, as you can see, sees themselves as 42% of United States citizens see themselves as more democratic than other countries, while only 27% of other countries see the United States as more democratic than them. And you can also see that 82% of other countries say that the United States interferes with the affairs of other countries. And why is this important? Because if the United States, we personally believe that we are doing something that we deem as approvable or something that upholds our values, but other countries might not necessarily agree with this. So the purpose of us involving ourselves in conflict is kind of unnecessary when you view it from this perspective. And these are from the Pew Research Center, a study done with 23 different countries in 2023. And the solution that I gained from this was that collective memories from similar cultures. What are collective memories? Collective memories are when a group of people that are united together in some form of culture, geographical location, such as the citizens of the United States, perceive a certain event in a certain way because of their personal values. So the United States could see something as detrimental, while another country or another perspective could see something as positive. And you can see, and this also affects future perspectives, and you can see this through the US-China trade war compared to the US-Japanese trade war. So historically, the US-Japanese trade war was obviously met with a lot of negativity, and these the memories from this have spilled over into the current United States-China trade war, where we can see similarities between people's attitudes towards both of these. And my second point is that good arguments don't change perspective, from Miles 2016. He proves that good arguments don't even change someone's perspective. So although the United States, you could consider kind of trying to explain someone a different perspectives, this might not actually work, because people's perspectives don't change. So the only solution for this is to just consider other people's perspectives while also holding your own. The implications of my solution are obviously less casualties, less economic imbalance, and not wasting resources through wartime efforts. And the cons of my solution is that we wouldn't be able to fight for democracy as often, and it could be possibly detrimental to third world countries that might necessarily need our help in certain aspects. And the limitations of my solution are obviously different morals and perspectives. Even within the United States, everyone has a different perspective and different morals, and even in comparing this to people from other countries, this might cause disagreements, and it might still be hard to agree on a solution. And second, lawmakers act on their personal opinion. The people that involve us in war act on their personal opinion. There's no limit to continuance for this. And my conclusion is that in order for the United States to prevent the wasting of resources and harming innocent lives through conflict, differing moral perspectives beyond the scope of American values are necessary. Taking into account the biased personal beliefs and the manifestation of collective memories can open United States lawmakers into the realm of worldwide knowledge, therefore causing them to keep us out of unnecessary conflict. These are my references. This is morality and negative foreign relations.
All right. So let's talk about those differing perspectives. How were you able to handle differing perspectives in order to come to a conclusion that you were comfortable with?
Well, I was able to handle the differing perspectives I kind of compared the differing perspectives between other countries and the United States. So the United States sees us as more democratic, and these other countries don't see us as so. So my solution is that you kind of have to hear out both perspectives. One doesn't outrule the other. So in order to consider how other people are feeling, the United States has to be open to these perspectives.
Okay. And what advice would you have for anyone else who considers researching this moving forward?
I would say maybe research a little more on how the solution will actually affect other countries, and if it will actually be helpful, because I think that could provide more information to someone researching this topic.